everyone got quiet on their own. I think we might have a couple people at the back. I'll let you come in and have a seat. As always, there's some more seats at the front. We'll just give it a minute. We don't want to wait too long because we have lots to talk about in a fairly short amount of time.
People are afraid of us.
It should be like whoever gets the front seat gets a prize. Come on.
Oh my god! You get
Maori.
free sushi.
Maury.
They get one free dinner for return.
Oh, the music's off. Okay, that answered my question. Okay, well, why don't we get started? Hello everyone. My name is Jillian Taylor, and I'm going to be moderating the panel this evening. We have 4 guests with us, but first, before I dive into the introductions, I will do the land acknowledgement. So we are situated in the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And now, to introduce our topic. So sales and customer success have often worked in alignment between these teams. But today, our panelists are going to share their insights from their experience and how sales and CS work together, and maybe some of the challenges as well. And I understand we have mostly CS in the crowd, but I know there's a few people in sales too. So maybe they'll have some good questions and comments to contribute in the Q&A at the end. So we'll get started with, I'll throw out some questions and then we'll have responses from our panelists. And then we'll take the last 10 minutes or so for some Q&A. So start thinking of your questions, but we'll save them for the end. Okay, all right, here we go. So we have, okay, we're actually a little different order. So
Just keeping your toes.
Yeah. All right, so Raasch Fulton we have on your left. So Raasch is the founder of Valuize, a leading customer success consulting company for enterprise B2B tech companies in the US and Canada. Prior to launching Valuize in 2018, Raasch spent 15 years in sales engineering, professional services, customer success leadership roles in B2B tech companies, transforming into recurring revenue businesses. And next we have Michael Raasch. So Michael's traveled from Oregon to join us. Michael works with Churnzero. So thank you for coming, and yeah, great to have you here. So Michael is an enterprise manager of customer success at Churnzero. Churnzero, probably most of you know, is a software company that provides AI-powered customer success solutions for SaaS and subscription businesses, helping teams to optimize customer health and renewals, expansion opportunities. So Michael has spent the last 10 years managing different aspects of the customer lifecycle, which leads him to his current role at Churnzero and helping customers fight churn. And then we have Arun Pareek. So Arun and I both work at Boomi, and so that is how Arun got recruited, but I'm super happy that we have him because he's got great global experience as well in customer success. He heads up the global scaled customer success for Boomi. He has over 18 years of global experience in business development, software sales, product management, consulting, and customer success. And Julie Gunn, so my very first customer success, well, the beginning of my CS career, put it that way, was with Julie at what was Vision Critical at the time. So now Julie is head of services at SALUS. She oversees customer success and support. SALUS is a health and safety platform for the construction industry, and their mission is to remove barriers of safety in the workplace. Before that, Julie has had a variety of operations, managing director, and customer success roles by being at Vision Critical for its first 12 years, and then in the world of commerce, where she managed the largest customers at Mobify and Shopify. And that concludes the introductions of our panelists. Wonderful. So thank you all for being here as well. This is the first time in quite a while we've had an in-person event with the Vancouver CS community. So I hope you find it really engaging, and yeah, we'll maybe learn some things too. So to start off with, we've got a couple topics. So this one is the sales and CS alignment imperative. So we all know that misalignment leads to frustration and churn, but let's focus on the business impact. So why does alignment matter? Would anyone like to go first? I know Julie and Arun, you had some thoughts about this one.
Right. First of all, thank you so much, Jillian, for putting this event together, and everyone who supported this event. And I am, as Julie said, I lead a global team for Boomi, but I'm new to Vancouver. A lot of people in Vancouver, they say they imported me from Melbourne, Australia to Vancouver. I don't know why, but that's what I mean. I'm absolutely fascinated by the culture over here, and I feel so welcome. And thank you for inviting me to this panel. Look, in my experience, I've been in companies as Jillian mentioned. I've been a seller as well. I've been in sales and business development. I think this alignment matters for three key reasons. One is customer centricity. I've spoken to a lot of customers. They genuinely trust a company where they don't have to think about who do they go to. They should go to a collective, and the collective is the sales and the CS person, right? That's number one. The second thing is diversity. We will live in a world where there's an acronym soup. There is CS, sales, TAM, support. There's so many people who all try to kind of help a customer succeed. And I don't think so customer think that, hey, who's my CSM, who's my AM? They want diversity of perspective. They want diversity of opinion. They want to have their biggest problem solved. It only happen when everyone lets diverse opinion gets in. The third thing is alignment of metric. I think what is the most important thing is, hey, how do we align sales and CS to make sure the customers is successful? We hear them, and we understand what they are trying to do with the software. How is the software going to pay for itself? And when that happens, then that's a sales and CS imperative. How do we make sure we create a moment that matters for the customer, where they can confidently say, hey, the software is paying for itself? What do you, Julie?
Totally agree with that. Thank you. The way I think about it with sales and CS is like we're just one team, and there's just different names for calling us what we do with those teams. And I've worked through several orgs where we've had that conflict of like, how do we work together and how do we figure this all out? And really we're on the same mission. And I just think it really comes down to mindset of how we are going to, like you said, customer centricity. What is right for the customer? How do we work together to be able to do that? How are our, and we'll talk about this later, I think too, how are our incentives aligned to make sure that we are focused on the right behaviors to be able to make that difference for that customer? And like, I think I've been challenged again and again in my career in all these different roles and how we can make that happen. But I would say another piece of that is just having the right mindset and also talking and aligning with those leaders within the organization. I will share, I had a little bit of a fear kind of being wrapped under a CRO again. Like it's happened sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. But when you have that proper alignment and that again, that mindset of like you can do more together, there's tons that you can accomplish. So that's really been a key piece of my experience, especially through the different stages of roles that I've been in.
Yeah, thanks. You both had that a very positive lens on all that, and that's awesome. That's how we want to aim to be. And then on the flip side, if any of us who work in CS or sales, we know that sometimes it gets complicated, and you don't. I hate to use the word friction, but sometimes there are challenges. So would anybody like to comment on challenges they've experienced, whether it was as a leader or within an organization, and maybe what you saw what happened to fix that, or what the solution was?
Who are our sales friends in the room? Just, good, excellent. I'm really glad you came, and I think it's a big thanks that you did come, because that is representative of the opportunity. Is this on? It is.
Yeah, I think you just have to hold it really close to your mouth.
I don't think I really need it, but
actually, can everyone hear okay in the back?
Yeah, is that good?
Okay,
yeah,
great.
We live and breathe this as Valuize day in, day out with our clients. We've seen the good, we've seen the bad, we've seen the ugly, we've seen the tears, we've seen the whole shebang. And I think one source of friction or a potential point of failure when aspiring to this theme of alignment between sales and CS begins with the definition of alignment. And alignment isn't enough, it needs to be integration. And integration across multiple levels that certainly begin with the concept of the charter, the mission that sales and CS can share and need to be integrated around, which fundamentally has an outward perspective around value for customers, customer experience, which then translates into the inward perspective around retaining and expanding those customers, because that's how the recurring revenue business model succeeds. If we can get that integration around charter and mission, then we can move into integrating at a strategy level, where we think about process integration, framework integration. Then we can get into the operational level around system integration, data integration, and then organizational integration around role definitions, the RACI models, the incentivization models, as Julie mentioned. So where we see these initiatives or the attempt to transform the sales and CS model fail, one key part we would highlight is just defining it appropriately as this is an integration effort, it is not an alignment effort. And aligning on just any one of those 4 levels isn't enough. Just getting everyone in the room high-fiving around a shared mission or charter, to be candid, is not going to achieve anything. In the same way that getting everyone on the same system, getting them, hey, we've got sales now accessing Gainsight, or we have CS now inside Salesforce accessing opportunity records, alone isn't going to achieve squat. And so that integration is where we've seen companies really embrace that concept and get down to very, very detailed levels of integration, is where we see the avoidance of that sort of friction.
And one thing I'd add to that as well, as I agree with all that, is another part is best intention. Everyone wants to do the best for the company, their customers, everyone around that. Understand that everyone comes from a different perspective in how they're trying to help customers out. So sales rep might have done the best thing and the best intentions of what everything was for what that customer needs, and putting yourself in their shoes helps you understand where they're at, how they come together. And that open line of communication is really one of the best things that I've seen in my organizations, where breaking down those barriers that no, only CS leaders can talk to sales leaders, only this rep can talk to that rep. It puts up those silos that ends up making more things more complicated. Whereas if you break that down and put in like synergy groups and other aspects, it allows for people to understand that sales have these scripts, these things that they look at. CS has these scripts and these things that they help. It isn't one, it's a team. And when that team comes together, the winner is the customer.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I add
Oh,
a couple of things over there? So,
sure.
So I'll add two things here. So I think I love what Ross said, but I also believe at a grassroots level, there are 2 things which is super important to me. One is removing exclusionary languages, like, hey, I own the customer, this is my customer, or that is a handover. These are all words we should remove from an organization literature. No one should hand over customer. That's not experience that customer wants to have. I don't want to be handed by a sales or a success person, right? I think people should bring on people, right? So sales should bring on CS, or CS should bring on sales, or any other skill set that exists in the organization, because that is truly what a customer needs, right? So remove exclusionary language. I think no one owns a customer. Everyone owns a moment in the journey, right? A sales is really required when you have to negotiate an outcome for a customer. Success is required when you have to create a value for the customer. I think that is super important, that we don't allow that exclusionary languages to creep into our processes as well. Mm-hmm. The second thing, in my opinion, is hey, I don't think so we should have a culture where brilliant jokes are tolerated. I do say that over and over again. A lot of organizations celebrate heroics, and they allow egos to foster, right? And so long as the people in sales and CS, they think that, hey, the customer wins, I think we should separate ourselves from our ego in terms of who gets the credit to an extent. If that happens, that makes a massive difference to integration and alignment as well. And that is
good
more
with
cultural.
that part. Let's come back to that.
Yes.
Yeah, we definitely want to hit on that, because I think that's what people wonder about, especially if you're going from one company to another. how does that differ, you know, with how people are incentivized or rewarded? That's a good point. But I actually really like what you said about the handoff thing. Even if someone is going to slip away, it's more of like bringing more people on, and maybe it depends on when part in the journey when somebody might be owning a certain part of it. So yeah, very insightful. Okay, let's go to the topic of, well, I feel like partnership. We've kind of got there, but does anybody have an actual tip of, like, as individuals within a company, any pro tips for creating good partnerships between you and the other people on your team? So, I mean, at Boomi, we don't just have a salesperson and a CS person. We have a lot of different people involved with the customer, actually. So, yeah, and we don't all work in the same physical space either. There's a lot of remote. So, any tips for creating those partnerships?
If I go back to my operator days, as much as what we see and do in Valuize, this is a arguably fairly capitalistic take on things, but understand how your peers and your colleagues are incentivized. How do they get paid? There's this kind of somewhat secrecy, or you can't talk about that type of attitude often around comp models and incentivization models, especially when we're talking about respective models across different teams. But at the end of the day, we want to sort of paint with potentially too broad a brush, but I think this is a fairly accurate statement that a large portion of what drives people's behaviors in their roles is how they are incentivized. Not exclusively, and that varies by individual through to culture, et cetera, but it is part of the equation. But the amount of potential innocent ignorance that maybe CS professionals have of their sales or their renewals peers around how exactly they are paid, and very much vice versa, is huge. And it makes life very difficult when trying to achieve the type of integration we're describing here if we don't understand what the potential impact is on that paycheck of that person when we are asking them to make a change, because change is hard. And so it is something that I feel like is somewhat shied away from as an area of understanding, mutual understanding between different peers and these different teams, is, I think, quite a critical lever.
So for each other to understand what those motivations are from your
at a
colleagues.
compensation level.
Yeah.
There's values are important, et cetera, but just how do I get paid? What is my bonus driven by?
And then, yeah, how do we work? How do we be friends? I guess yeah. Yeah, Michael or Julie.
Okay, so my tips are a little bit different, but yes, incentive plans are so important.
The name of his company is Valuize, by the way.
Tip number 1, meet in person. Honestly, it is so important. We do quarterly QBRs to make sure that we can meet our team members in person. If you are trying to do something together, and honestly, I don't think you really get to know someone remotely. We try hard. I know after the pandemic, we all kind of made ways to do that. Meeting someone in person, looking them in the eye, talking about how you're going to work together it sounds so basic, but it's a game changer. The second thing is to have an agreement that you are both open to feedback, because you have to have conversations with your sales colleague. You have to tell them what's working, what's not. I am not a fan of anonymous feedback because it's never helpful. Anonymous feedback is useless. So they shouldn't go to your boss and complain about this. Honestly, that just creates more friction in the org. They should tell you directly, hey, this meeting went great. I want to kind of share how maybe we can do it next time. What do you think of these ideas? The more you have that, honestly, I've seen it because we've done a huge amount of change management with actually switching the renewal responsibility from CSMs to AEs. And again, it's made a huge impact when we had that, that clear understanding of how we're going to work together. And it's about iterating on what's working, what's not, and being open about it. So those are kind of my big tips, I would say.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and it's not personal when you're, giving feedback. It's about getting the job done and having a good experience, and good outcomes for the customer.
Yeah. One that we've seen a big success with is just CS Synergy. It's setting up a monthly meeting with CX and sales from different teams. So it's not just CS, it's implementation, configuration, plus sales coming together and understanding, because sales might have said best intent on what they did, but they're coming in and implementation goes, these type of questions are more impactful. If you get these for us, we can help implement the customer, get better time to value. And vice versa, sales might not know that's a question we need to ask if we didn't have that. And we've seen a big improvement where we have personal Slack channels for those groups, where it's now we're seeing almost like a buddy system, like, hey, I need superhero support. Sales wants a CSM to join a call. They're willing to join that call because they have that rapport with that person. But vice versa, I have a sales rep that needs to come help me post where we have a new exec sponsor that maybe is a huge fan of this product. They have a better sales experience than maybe the CSM does. We can ask back for that support as well.
Yeah, I like that. Good teamwork, and everyone also, regardless of your role, sometimes certain people have a little more expertise or experience in certain areas, so that makes sense there too. Thanks. Okay, well let's go to the other topic that I like how when we were planning this out, Ross said, "Can you actually have an event and not talk about AI?" So yeah, so we're going to talk about AI. So who wants to go first in terms of if we're saying, like, honestly, thinking back only maybe not 1 year ago, but thinking back 1, 2, and 3 years ago, it's all pretty different actually in terms of where AI has come into our lives. Beyond that, yeah, who would have thought we'd be using AI the way we are? So what are the ways that AI is helping sales and CS be more effective?
I was the one making the fuss about it not being on the agenda, so I should probably answer. In many, many ways, I think the one I will call out for today is enabling a highly intelligent but common view of the customer at a data level. You take the scenario of customer A and CS's perception based on data that they may have but sales can't see access for whatever reason, is that this customer is not particularly healthy in different ways. Sales looks at customer A and they're, hey, that's my strategic expansion play for the year. Here we go, we're going to sell, cross-sell, upsell, etc. Not good for the customer, not really going to achieve anything effective for the business. Having a consistent, intelligent 360 onto that customer is critical to sort of enable that CS professional and that sales professional to align on the success plan, on the growth plan, the account plan for that customer. That's not a new concept, that's been around for a while via different systems, but now the way that AI is enhancing that and actually enabling more predictive propensity-based recommendations to be made off that data on that customer, which CS and sales can then align around. If that AI has to be trusted, but if that AI source of intelligence is saying, hey, look, the propensity for this customer to churn is at a high degree, it really sort of helps disarm the potential ambition around, hey, we're going to grow this customer and sell 5 more products into them, and vice versa. If it's saying, hey, the propensity for this customer to expand is high, it really arms customer success to ask the question, hey, how can I help with the growth of value in that customer so that they can then see the value of the new products, and that keeps the salesperson aligned and happy as well. So that AI-driven customer 360, we're seeing that as very much alive, that we can talk about the products that enable that today. And it really is starting to kind of create, back to Arun's point, this common dialect as well around how we categorize the perception of an account through this sort of AI-driven intelligence. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, well, it is exciting, that's for sure.
I
I
can
guess,
add to
do you want
what
to add
Ross
to that?
said.
And then, add to that, and then if anyone else wants after that, then we can kind of segue into what we think the future, like, you know, whether it's the pace or maybe just, you know, more kind of specific areas where AI is going to come into CS further.
I can segue into that to add to what Ross has said, because we are massively, we were trying to solve the wrong problems 3 or 4 years ago, and now we're trying to solve the right problems, I believe, for first time in a while, because sales and success will never have common tools. I think Ross pointed on that before. We're trying to solve, hey, how do we create a 360-degree view of a customer where everyone goes in the same place and the same thing and we get the same insights? I tried that dream for 7 years in my CS career. It never happens, right? I think what is happening with AI now is, I think we truly have an integrated view of our customers. We can ask questions. and it goes and pulls in all these systems and gives us a common view. That is a massive game changer in terms of productivity. The biggest impact is it is allowing sales and CS people to spend more time doing their job, which is to be in front of customers, and not spend their time in tools and filling in information, taking notes, summarizing information. That's the biggest benefit that AI is already providing us right now, and we are seeing the benefit of it.
I would totally agree. We actually had a very vulnerable conversation where my team was like, oh, I just did this with AI and we're going through this Google Doc together of something that AI wrote. Are you mad at me? And I was like, no, I'm proud of you for working smarter, right? And we have to be able to use these tools. So it's something that we talk openly about. I'd highly encourage everyone to kind of bring to the table, like, hey, is there something we can do with AI? Like, we should be extremely open to it, honestly, in my opinion. Otherwise, we'll be spending time on the wrong thing. And at the end of the day, CSM is all about prioritizing the right things. And we need these tools to be able to do it, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, and if we're going to rapidly grow, like we're experienced where you're just going to get more customers, then you need to be able to be in front of them and let the tools, or the AI in the tools, do the work for you in that regard. Is there anything burning that you want to talk about AI? Maybe Michael, you haven't said anything yet, but it's up to you.
Most everything that was said is
Yeah.
I 100% agree with. I don't want to say too much more. We can keep going on topics, but other than that is just let it be empowering to you. Let it give you the data you need back, and don't waste your time trying to analyze something that it could do is just as good, if not better than you.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to look at
I
it,
can
kind
go
of a
again.
tangible.
I can go
Sure.
for hours on this.
Yeah, we don't, but we don't have hours.
Julian's like, no.
Okay, one more thing then we should talk, which relates to the CS and sales alignment, but certainly is very acute for just the CS domain as well, that we, I think, have to acknowledge. It might not be a fun subject in some ways to acknowledge, but it's the role of agents. And so the agentific generation is coming in terms of, we've already got support agents, we're seeing agents really take hold in the BDR, SDR world. You look at what Salesforce via Satinia, what Gainsight, what this company called Agency is doing. The CSM agent is very much coming. And so I think it behooves all of us to really understand what that means, what that's going to look like today, how that's going to evolve in the future, because as CS professionals, we will need to evolve to integrate agents into the profession, into our individual roles, and work out how do we add value to the existence of these agents. I think the proliferation of agents, specifically in CS, the agent CSM, for want of a better description, its rollout is going to begin in companies with products that have a lower complexity around adoption, and economically, as companies need either the scale or the cost base to leverage agents over human-led CS, but it will evolve. It will evolve very, very quickly to the most complicated of products, to the most enterprise of accounts, and agents will be involved in that customer success motion. So that's, again, real. It's early, but it's real. It's coming for every company and every CS organization, but I don't think that needs to be viewed at all as a threat. It's an opportunity, but it is important, I think, for us to be proactively thinking about how do I turn that into an opportunity for myself? How am I a drone pilot commanding this army of agents versus being the sort of the human on the front lines is, I think, a big thing to recognize.
Yeah, that's a great call out there. And then I think, so to build on this, I mean, I think this is part of it, is that AI is in everything. I was just thinking, you know, that's at Boomi, we're all about the AI agents in business across an entire business everywhere. So that's just it. We're in CS and sales, we're that one part of the business. So let's talk about, just in the last couple minutes before we go to Q&A, two things. So we're talking about CS and sales. So far we haven't really differentiated between when we're talking about enterprise accounts and like scaled, like where we've got, you know, so how much, there's a big difference between how much time you spend with your customer if it's enterprise compared to scaled, or, you know, there's lots of different ways of segmenting customers. So I'm happy if you want to incorporate AI into that, or even just like the journey and the difference between how CS and sales contributes in those kind of different ends of the spectrum.
So something with like the digital or scale side is with AI is taking a look at that like relationship score, health score, other items that can take a look at those metrics that can help give you empowerment. Using that to then automate processes for those. You don't want for say a $50 a month MRR customer to have a human interaction to send their annual review or annual renewal notice. So you use that mechanism to help empower it, and based off of certain paths, certain health, certain metrics, you can send them down different paths to go, here's how we should help you. That is very much more of a streamlined help process, let AI empower that. Whereas on the enterprise side, we understand that AI is going to help empower a lot of those aspects, give you the data you need, but there's still that human element where that sediment and knowing that, yes, maybe the factors are pointing green, everything's looking at scale, they're going to be amazing, but you know underlying that, yes, they're using the tools you need, but it might not be operationally what they want or have out of what they need of it. So those are where you still have that on the enterprise side, so much of a human element where you have to be in front of them engaging, but you use the data behind it that gives it to you to empower how that conversation will work, understand their objectives and realign with them ahead of those conversations so they're empowered.
Thank you.
Well, I have a title that says scale in my role, but I think the biggest challenge that I have, I built a whole motion in Boomi about on this subject that Jillian talked about, but the problem, the way I look at it, is a equation of efficiency and effectiveness. And if you imagine a customer, if a company grows and they have 10,000 customers, they will not hire 2,500 CSMs to service a book. It's not going to happen. So it's about effectiveness, which is how do we help CS folks deliver more meaningful, in-person, high-value deliverables for our customers, right? And then the efficiency is like, how do we drive the cost down to cost to serve to a customer? And that is the equation we're trying to solve with AI, or with obviously the segmentation too.
And does anyone here work in CS Ops or own CS Ops, customer success operations? So I think that's a really good sort of segue into Gillian's question around, again, this alignment between sales and CS. There's alignment of sales and CS, the frontline functions, but the operational alignment, or the alignment between the operational functions that sit behind those two functions, which are increasingly getting centralized in something like RevOps or go-to-market ops, but still more commonly you have CS Ops and Sales Ops. When we get down to the scale and digital customer segments, that alignment is increasingly critical because, to the points here, it is very much a digital-led motion with those customers, both from a sales perspective, when we think about product-led growth and product-led expansion and so on, as well as from a CS perspective, thinking about digital-led adoption, how those two teams are aligning around those digital strategies and the integration of AI is hugely critical, and is as much a part of this alignment conversation as the alignment of the front-end teams, especially because those front-end teams don't tend to play in those segments that you were talking about.
Yeah, and I'll add one more thing. I know, Jillian. So the other thing we have done.
We're actually right on time. So
I guess it's a very important point for us to make, which is we challenged ourselves to not do segmentation based on how we think we should probably think. We segmented based on what our customers need, right? So we segmented based on our customers' moment in their business. Hey, who needs the most help? They may be a very high spend customer who's completely autopilot. They don't need help from CS. So we're more like an advisor to them rather than part of their team. And then there are customers who are new to a platform and they need the most help. Regardless of the spend, that's where we focus most of our time. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, hey, the motion of segmentation should be around the journey of the customer rather than how we look at the revenue of the customer.
Yeah, and I guess there's the revenue as in what the opportunity is, like how big the customer is and however we define that, where there's the opportunity, as well as how much they spend. Like those are not always correlational. So I think that's another thing about how we segment customers too. Okay, well, how about we go to Q&A, and if we don't have many questions, then I've got some in my back pocket, but I feel like this is an engaged audience. Does anybody have any comments or questions for anyone on the panel?
Yes, so I have a question. It's for that AI, like everyone is kind of evolving and using AI stacks to just increase or scrutinize their processes. I also observe that customer evolves over time, their requirements change. how does leadership actually visualize that, you know, there is probably an address needed, that AI is probably not giving us the right answers at this stage? And sometimes, you know, it just, we miss that deadline, like we are missing that, probably churn, we are at the edge of churn, and then we realize that the customer has evolved beyond this phase and AI has not helped us at this stage. So what is the course correction at that stage?
I can go.
Thank you.
So AI, by definition, needs training, and needs continuous training, continuous reinforcement. And for AI in this use case, it is on the company trying to adopt AI to keep training that AI on those evolving requirements that they're seeing within their target market as they define them in relation to their ideal customer profile. Because we need AI to be generating the best recommendations it can provide. We need to train it and help it stay current on that stuff. So as we're seeing kind of, this could be market dynamics changing, it could be product. Your products are continuously evolving. There's new features coming out, there's features being changed which will have an impact on how customers adopt the product, how customers achieve outcomes via that product. We need to feed the models underpinning the AI tools that you're using with those changes. And then my only other point is that there is no scenario yet, we don't have AGI in any context yet. And so the use of AI around customer success, including, still requires that human oversight and that human intervention. And are we seeing good recommendations? Are we seeing the right actions being taken? Or are we seeing hallucinations, or are we seeing misplaced recommendations or actions because we haven't kept the models up to date? So that human oversight, that human governance, which goes back to kind of the role of CS ops or some sort of operations function, is huge.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah? Go ahead.
What advice would you give to someone that's wanting to move from sales to CS?
Prepare for pay cut.
Well, that's not true.
Exactly.
It's not universal. It's not universal.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a believer in being open about that interest and building towards it. And I think if you can do that with the leadership that you have at your organization, I think it's the only way to go. But yeah, you have to understand it's a totally different role. You have to do your research about, obviously pay would be a little bit different, but the motivation and incentive around it is totally different. And then obviously there's things that you get from it that make you proud and happy and motivated. Again, totally different. Maybe you're not throwing dollar bills everywhere, but I'm sorry.
Well,
You could, if you really killed it with your NRR target and you had a really great leader that did really good incentive plans. So.
yeah, and one thing to add to that is, I mean, as you become more experienced in your career, that builds to your value that you bring, the value you bring to an organization. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you're starting out in sales and you go to CS, that's not necessarily, you know, it's not like you're gonna immediately have way less money on your paycheck.
I'll make a more helpful comment.
Oh, Ross.
Be very confident, number one, in that your skill sets as a sales professional are highly desired in a lot of CS organizations. Connected to that is be selective around the CS organizations that you're thinking of joining, because the theme of specialism is rapidly taking hold of CS organizations, and oversimplifying to some extent, but there's two major specializations around revenue or around adoption. And that adoption is typically pointing towards, you've got some technical specialist expertise, or you have some industry vertical expertise that's really going to help your customers adopt your products. Or on the revenue side of things, you've got sales, consulting, value consulting, no fear of the concept of sales, expertise and experience, which is going to help you drive the retention and or expansion ownership you will have as a revenue-based customer success professional. So coming from, not to say that you couldn't go for the former, but coming from the sales world, looking for that, what CS org can I join that has that revenue accountability and mission, is possibly a good place to look.
And one last thing I'd say, lean into the product. To be frank, sales is amazing. They do a great job doing what they do, but it's very different when you're handed that customer. Now you have to execute on what sales said it could do. Be confident in what you have, lean into it, and be when you don't know. You just don't know and you get the answer. Because we've seen so many times people move into it, and it's okay not to know an answer, but get it.
Thanks so much.
The only thing I was going to add is a more philosophical point is change your reward trigger. Our brains are wired differently when you are in sales and success. So in sales, people are going to be very happy when they close a deal. In success, people are going to be very happy when a customer gets to an outcome.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, hey, change your reward trigger, and then you can excel. Like, hey, you can make the money part. I don't agree with. I think people in CS makes more money than in sales. They're good, they're really good.
Yeah.
But again, if you change your reward trigger, it's gonna make you a healthy person in that sense.
Thanks so much.
Great, we could talk about that all day. Yes.
Actually, it's tied to what Ross mentioned about, I would like to hear from the rest of the panel the vision on where the CS role or sales will be in 10 years. What Ross just mentioned about like the part of revenue versus technical is something happening in most companies. Either everything is getting to the GTM and you have the revenue and technical regardless of the role that you do. And that's why there is a lot of like shaking boats on the CS world around North America. But I'd love to hear the vision of the other three leaders of where they see this role going. If it's similar to Ross, or what's your own view of that if it's tied to it? I know it's a very loaded question, but it's because a lot of places, a lot of places I get that there's a lot of conversations happening around, so I think it's interesting to know the perspectives of CS leaders. I know, right?
10 years, right?
Well,
Yeah.
existential.
I was like,
Yeah, because the last three have been pretty rapid.
We're thinking, it's good, it's a good
Right.
question. We're
It's a
thinking.
good question. It's an existential threat for me. So
I'm going through that. I also lead a CS team, and I'm going through that situation right now, right? So I would love to hear ideas.
I think if I give you my view, hey, structurally nothing is gonna change because 10 years technology is always count. Like hey, we had internet as a pivotal moment. Things did not change. Hey, technologies are gonna come. Forever, there's always gonna be a aspect of hey, bring a customer and then serve them. That thing will never change for as long as technology organizations exist. So I think structurally nothing will change. But to Ross's point, hey, the way we would do things will change, right? Maybe the metrics would change, the motions would change. We would use more AI, more co-pilots, our things would change. But then the concepts of CS and sales will not change because I just say this thing, hey, software doesn't work by itself, right? People don't buy technology and they want to put it on shelf. Software doesn't work by itself. They need insights. They need vendors need customers to kind of adopt the platform. They need to be challenged, and they need that help. Like hey, CS is part of a customer's team. I keep saying that. Hey, when you introduce yourself as a CS person, you said I'm part of your team. This vendor pays for my salary, but I'm a part of your team. Right? That will never change because customers will buy stack, but they still want to get to an outcome. Right? So structurally nothing will change, but the way we operate things will probably change and evolve.
Yeah. So the unique thing about SALUS is we're a platform that is targeted to construction workers. And so our users at the end of the day is at the office level as well as field level workers. So you can imagine people on site trying to fill out a form, totally pissed off, really quick to, I mean, no offense to anyone, but yeah. And there's a reason why in support we don't have bots, because we know our customer and we know that they will flip when they, if they encounter that. And I always think that you just have to think about like, what is that customer experience? Who are you working with? What is gonna be the best way to kind of get them on their way, right? At this point, if we didn't solve things effectively, and honestly it needs consulting with people at this point, then it's going to block projects, it's going to block productivity, and we know the impact of that and on businesses and new business and stuff too. So but I'm with you. I think like in 10 years we still have that. There's always going to be things that we need people for because there's value of it, but it's a key piece of it. I don't know, maybe in 10 years I'll be on an island somewhere and we don't care, right? But I don't know.
I mean, that's our goal, right?
That's our goal.
I'd agree. As much as we say technology is going to continue to change, it is. We can't take that away. But what we can say is that at the end of the day, people still want human interaction in certain aspects. Think about a resurgence and when you go to certain grocery stores. You see more of a meat market, a family market, things that people are like, you have a butcher that wants to talk to you. People like that you see that and that's that personal interaction. And technology is not going to change because no tech right now, AI can't tell me, you want to do this, I can give you that. That isn't going to, even in that maybe next 10 years. Soon as we get Star Trek and we can get all that, yes. but we are far from that. So we're gonna keep aligning, keep powering customers. In different departments will have different roles. You might see more of a sales lead taking more of a tech role in the implementation. Maybe that's their unicorn that they can help with that. But people have different skill sets, and I can't take away from that. I'm not a salesperson. I suck at sales. I hate it. I'll be honest, I'm not that person. I'm better at enablement and helping the customers. I know my strong suit, and I still think that will be benefits that help define and help make customers successful.
Well, I don't want to eat too much into the networking time, and pardon the pun there on the eating, having some more of the food. So any last comments that any of the panelists want to make? Because I know we sort of skipped over some of the topics a little bit, and maybe like we didn't talk as much about metrics or specific kind of tasks that different roles might do in the journey. I mean, we did actually touch on that a bit, but anything? Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think there's a huge community, a small community, right, of people that are all trying to solve similar problems. I would just say, like, reach out to any of us and the leaders who have done it, you know, probably like 10 times over, because there's learnings we'd probably do every single time a little bit different, because, you know, hopefully we've learned and iterated. So I don't know, I think more on that, like, we should remind ourselves as a bit of a takeaway to kind of like reach out and try to do those things. Just generally.
Yes, great segue into that. Is a great takeaway. Another takeaway is that sales and CS aren't going anywhere, so the power of the alignment is real, and leveraging AI amongst all of the tools we have is super important and only going to get more important. And anything else I've forgotten? Okay.
I would just say one thing that so when we think about CS sales alignment, there is, in a lot of companies, this is not a universal rule, but there is often a secret weapon in achieving that alignment, or the integration as I was describing it earlier. Sales engineering, that function, that team, that is often where the magic glue can exist based, depending on, again, their own mission charter, etc. But the way that domain profession has evolved and is evolving, including I'm seeing it come under CCOs increasingly, because it serves as a very effective bridge between sales and CS externally with customers as much as internally, as they evolve into more of a value consulting, outcome consulting, success planning type of function, at least in that pre-sale or those sales cycles. So if you're looking for sort of, hey, where can I really start to get some potential quick wins to help increase that alignment or integration between CS and sales, how can you get better aligned with sales engineering or solution engineering, whatever it might be called in your company, could be a very good place to start. It's where we found a lot of success.
Yeah, and to simplify Ross's point, right? So I used to tell my teams to ask every customer one single question, which is the software paying for itself? Every CS should ask their customers this question. Be bold and be strong and challenge your customer. Ask this question: software paying for itself? If not, then what can we do? And then if not, and if it is, then all things happen by itself. But I would agree with him, like, you know, in terms of, hey, how important it is to kind of, you know, all the other things will be taken care by the AI, but where CS can help is, hey, customers buy a software to generate business value. And is the software paying for itself is the number one question you should all ask your customers.
Yeah, that is where the value comes in. Yeah, okay, well, thank you to all the panelists. We really appreciate your insights and your expertise. So thank you, and especially for traveling to Vancouver to get here as well. So I will, in addition to those thank yous, say to Matthew and Mari for the space. We very much appreciate that. It's nice and quiet, not like the last few years of having venues and restaurants where there's all the other noise to contend with. So thank you. And I mentioned Michael, and then also Eric is here from Churnzero as well. And Churnzero in general for providing the food and the drinks for us. We very much appreciate that. And then I should call out to, like, myself, of course, I'm not tooting my own horn, but more so to say to Mohit and Pedro as well. The three of us all organized this. And thank you for recording, Elena and Iwa. So definitely appreciate that. And yeah, we now is a good time to make sure that we enjoy some of this food, and we have until 7 o'clock. So thank you.